Two binaries, same algorithm, same output, both pass every unit test. Byte for byte, identical results. One was written by a human in C, the other was generated by an AI straight to assembly. In the sandbox, they run neck and neck. You could stare at the numbers all day and never tell them apart. Then you push them into a real server, 10,000 requests a second, and the AI's version starts falling behind. Not by a hair. The CPU spends something like 40% of its cycles doing nothing. Just waiting. Stalled, same output, same tests. 40% of the silicon, dead. That number is from this exact test, not a law of nature. But the mechanism behind it is universal, and by the end of this video, you'll be able to find it in your own binaries. Here's the thing nobody tells you about AI-generated machine code. The AI wrote code that works. That's not the problem. The problem is everything that works hides. Because a test asks one question. Is the answer correct? It never asks the question the CPU actually cares about. How many cycles did you make me waste to get there? So we're going to do three things. First, we break the illusion. Why AI code looks fast right up until the moment it leaves the cage. Second, we put both binaries under a microscope, a real hot path, a database under real load, and we run an autopsy. Object dump, the raw assembly, one instruction at a time until we find the exact op the AI slipped in that made the processor sit down and wait. Third, I'm going to give that waste a name. Two names, actually. Because once you can see it, you can't unsee it. And it changes what knowing how to code even means. But, and this matters, it does not come from the AI being dumb. It comes from something much harder to fix. A physical limit baked into the way these models think. Watch an AI write low-level code and it feels like magic. You describe a function, parse these records, filter them, sum a field, and out comes assembly that assembles clean and returns the right answer on the first try. And on your laptop, it's fast. Genuinely fast. But your laptop is a liar. It's a controlled environment. The dataset is tiny. It fits in cache. Nothing else is fighting for the processor. Every memory access is a cache hit because there's almost nothing in memory to miss. Small dataset. Both binaries. 1.2 milliseconds. Dead tie. That's the sandbox. That's the illusion. Now take that exact same binary and drop it into production. The working set is 4 gigabytes now. It does not fit in cache. Other threads are hammering the same cores. Requests come in bursts. Unpredictable. Out of order. This is where the twins stop being twins. Because now every instruction the AI picked, because it was statistically likely, has a bill attached. Paid in cycles. At scale. So let's stop waving our hands and pick a real target. The hot path of a high-load database. The hot path is the little stretch of code that runs on every single query. Millions of times a second. It's maybe 2% of your codebase, and it burns 90+% of your CPU time. Optimize anywhere else, and you're rearranging furniture. Optimize here, and you change the physics of the whole system. Here's the loop, stripped down. Walk an array of records, keep the ones that match, add up a total. Simple, right? A branch and a memory access, in a loop. There is nothing here. And that's exactly why it's the perfect body to autopsy. Because at 10,000 requests a second, the gap between a good version of this loop and a lazy one is the gap between one server and 40. But to see why the two binaries split apart, you have to understand the one thing the AI cannot model. And it isn't the code, it's the ground the code runs on. Here's the mental model almost every programmer secretly runs on. Memory is one big flat box. You ask for a value, you get a value. Every access costs the same. That model is wrong. Not a little wrong, violently wrong. Memory is a hierarchy, and the cost between the levels isn't a rounding error. It's 3 orders of magnitude. Read that again. A value in L1 costs about 4 cycles. The same value, if it only lives in main memory, costs 200 to 300 for one read. So the entire game of high-performance code comes down to this. Keep the data the CPU needs close. Lay it out so that when you touch one record, the next records you'll need ride along for free in the same cache line. 64 bytes at a time. This is why the human struct is packed the way it is. Why the fields are ordered to kill the padding holes. This is data-oriented design. You don't optimize the code, you optimize the shape of the data, so the hardware's prefetcher can guess what you'll want next and have it sitting there waiting. Now, here's the trap. An AI language model has never touched this hierarchy, never felt a cache miss. To the model, rexi.value and rexi.flags are just tokens, text. Symbols statistically related to other symbols it has seen. It has no idea that swapping 2 lines can turn a 200-cycle stall into a 4-cycle hit. It knows the code as language. It has never once known it as electricity. Autopsies like this one take a long time to prepare. If MacroLens earns it, there's a Patreon in the description. Now let's open the bodies. Same source, same result. We run object dump on both and disassemble the inner loop. This is where the corpse gives up its secrets. Here's the human's inner loop. The value stays in a register. The pointer moves once. The branch carries a hint. Tight. Now the AI's version. Same result, remember. Watch line 3 and line 6. There it is. The cadaver. The AI generated a register spill. It took a value it already had sitting in a register and wrote it out to the stack, and then 3 instructions later read the exact same value right back in. A store, then a load. of data that never needed to leave the register in the first place. Why? Because statistically, in the billions of lines it trained on, that pattern shows up. Spilling to the stack is a real thing compilers do when they run out of registers. So the model played the odds and emitted the shape of correct code without the reason underneath it. It had a free register the whole time. It just didn't know registers are scarce, because to the model, a register is a word, not a resource. And here's the part that actually costs you. That reload depends on the store 2 instructions earlier. The CPU can't run the load until the store lands. That's a data dependency. And a data dependency in a pipeline processor creates a pipeline bubble, a stall. The pipeline is a 15 to 20 stage assembly line, and every stage wants to be doing useful work every cycle. The bubble is an empty slot drifting down the line, cycles where the machine is powered, spinning, warm, and doing nothing. Now the sharp objection: modern CPUs can forward that value straight from the store buffer to the load without waiting, that store to load forwarding, and it saves you most of the time. But it only works if the load matches the store exactly, address and size. Here it does. So this specific bubble is short, but short is not 0. Multiply one short bubble by millions of iterations per query, by 10,000 queries a second. There's your 40%. And the branch. Line 5, the AI's jump has no hint. The human wrote built-in expect, told the compiler, this branch is almost never taken, so the CPU's speculative execution guesses right and keeps the pipeline full. Guess wrong on a modern deep pipeline and you flush it. 15 to 20 cycles gone, every single misprediction. The human steered the branch predictor, the AI left it blind because a hint like that isn't about correctness. It's about knowing what the silicon is going to guess. And guessing is not something you can learn from text. So let me name what we just pulled out of the body. Every instruction the model emits, it emits because that token was probable given the tokens before it. Not because it was cheap. The model optimizes for local statistical likelihood, the next plausible symbol, and it's completely blind to global hardware cost, cache locality, register pressure, pipeline depth. The gap between those two things, I call it the probability tax. Every instruction chosen by probability instead of by mechanical necessity is a potential cache miss, a potential stall, a potential bubble. On its own, invisible. In a hot path at scale, it compounds into a tax on every cycle your server turns. And the code that pays that tax? It passes every test, returns correct results forever, never throws an error. By every metric your CI pipeline knows how to measure, it is healthy. I call it zombie code. Functionally alive, mechanically dead. It walks, it answers, it passes review, and it quietly burns something like 40% of the cycles and the energy of the machine it runs on. And that last word gets heavier every year. Cycles aren't free. Cycles are watts. Watts are dollars and heat and a line on a data center's carbon report. We're about to generate an ocean of low-level code with these models, and a huge slice of it will be zombie code, drawing power to do nothing at planetary scale. Whatever the AI saved you in writing, it gets charged back, with interest, every second it runs. And notice, none of this is nostalgia. This isn't the old ways were better. The frontier of systems programming right now is more physical than it's ever been. I/O Uring exists because we finally stopped making the kernel copy data it never needed to. eBPF lets you run code inside the kernel's hot path without a context switch. RISC-V is people redesigning the instruction set itself to match how data actually moves. Every one of those is a human reaching down toward the electrons. The AI is reaching sideways, toward the next likely token. I want to be honest about something, because it'd be easy to end this as a victory lap for humans. And it isn't one. I use these models every day for the 98% of code that is not the hot path, the glue, the config, the CRUD, the plumbing. They're faster than me, and I'm not going back. The AI didn't write bad code. It wrote working code, and for most of your code base, working is the entire job. The mistake, the one I've made, is letting "it passes the tests" become the end of the question instead of the start of it. Trusting the green checkmark on the 2% that actually decides whether you run one server or 40. Because here's what the autopsy really tells you. The old assembly programmers had a name for a thing: mechanical sympathy. It's the feel a great driver has for the engine. You don't just know what the machine does. You feel how it wants to move, and you work with it. A language model cannot have mechanical sympathy. Not because it isn't smart enough, because it has never been inside. It has only ever seen the code as text. It has never been the impulse traveling down a copper trace. It has never been the electron waiting on the far side of a cache miss. So knowing C today isn't really a programming skill anymore. Writing the loop, the AI can write the loop. Knowing why one loop makes the electrons wait and the other doesn't, that's not programming. That's physics. You're dictating, at the level of the silicon, how charge moves through a machine. And that is the one thing a model that predicts text will never, ever get to feel. And if this whole autopsy felt abstract, 40%, cycles, watts, there's a system you use every single day that proves the point at massive scale. 1 million people hit Netflix at once and it doesn't blink. But your code, under a fraction of that load, falls over. That's not luck. That's the difference between code written by probability and code written by people who never forgot what the machine underneath is actually doing. That's the next autopsy. Why 1 million users can't crash Netflix, but crash you. The corpse is already on the table.